Alright, I want to jump right into it. I've loved Steven Universe for a long time. I've seen every piece of Steven Universe media that's out. I've engaged in some fan projects, whatever. Uh, I love music. I make music. I don't make cartoons, but I like cartoons. I like Steven Universe. I recently listened to every single song in the series, and I wanted to rank them, all 63 of them. So for each song, they're going to get ranked in three categories. It goes from 1 to 5 with a max score of 15. The first category is catchiness. How good the instrumental and vocals sound on their own. Bonus points if it's a good sing-along song. Then we have emotions. Is the song sad? Does it spark joy? Emotion points for actual emotional inflection. Does it make me feel anything? But can also get points for an emotional scene it represents, a stunning vocal performance, or even just nostalgia. Then we have plot. What does the song mean for the story? Where is it introduced? Is it just a filler song, or is there importance and meaning in the lyrics, or where the song originates from in the story? So we're going to start with
63.
The Tale of Steven. The first song of the movie immediately lets us know it's a movie by giving us a big orchestral track sung by the Diamonds, and is also the first song that Blue and White Diamond duet in.
62.
Haven't You Noticed I'm a Star, sang by Olivia Olson, who, if you listen closely, you may recognize as both Vanessa from Phineas and Ferb and Marceline from Adventure Time, who is a wonderful singer. And while I appreciate the song's place in the series, it's just kind of a slightly generic pop song to me. It doesn't really, it don't really do too much for me.
61.
A goofy little song right at the start of the series, meant to vaguely introduce us to its sense of humor and Steven, while also giving us a peek at his first weapon summon attempt right after. Unfortunately, as many may predict, Cookie Cat doesn't go too high because it's more of a silly little gag song than an actual productive piece. Is it fun to sing along with? Sure. Is it a little itty bit? Just a little bit grating? Maybe. It's very early in the series. It doesn't really stick the landing, but that's okay. It gets 2 plot points because the song pretty straightforwardly alludes to Pink abandoning her intergalactic dominating warfaring family, but other than that, is not so interesting.
60.
We Deserve to Shine, a little niche entry. This was a song about body positivity featuring the Crystal Gems for the Dove Self-Esteem Project. It's a fun little song about being confident about yourself and who you are, featuring lines by 8 different Steven Universe characters. Technically a Steven Universe original, so it's on the list.
59.
The Working Dead, a spooky, Halloweeny, punky song emanating from the experience of everyone working menial labor. Something, working capitalism makes you a zombie, I agree, but it's not necessarily a fresh or new idea, and the song is still fun regardless. A nice and eccentric synth backing the guitar fits the song perfectly, and is our first look at the future of Sadie Killer.
58.
Still Not Giving Up. The first new song featured in a short, Not Giving Up, is basically just Steven recounting a few of the events that's happened recently over a distorted guitar. It's nice, and the most interesting part of the song is when Steven kind of samples some melody from the intro, We Are the Crystal Gems, but otherwise it's just nice.
57.
Dear Old Dad, a sweet little song about Steven's relationship with his father, fit with some nice harmonies. Getting a Steven and Greg duet is always nice, and it's the first time it happens in the series.
56.
Finale, the finale version, retreading the setup from Happily Ever After and Who We Are, featuring an absolute ensemble cast, including the only vocals in the entire Steven Universe series, sung by Lars and Nanavua. Also makes a cool reference to the Change vocals at one point. Maybe we'll get some more Lars vocals from Lars and the Stars. Maybe I'm making this video too early, who knows.
55.
In Mr. Universe, vocals performed by Jermaine Clement, one half of the duo Flight of the Conchords, a prog rock sounding short ballad about a minute long that provides the inspiration for Greg's and by extension Steven's last name. Another song that's played just before a very tense and troublesome scene.
54.
On the Run. Good little ditty about Steven and Amethyst with a little characterization about them feeling out of place and not knowing much about home. I honestly wish it was a little longer, and for Amethyst's part to come in earlier since their voices sound so good together.
53.
Change Your Mind. The last song sung in the series, which was actually written around the time Rebecca Sugar was still fighting to include Ruby and Sapphire's wedding episode. It's fairly short, but there's actually a full 2-minute studio version sang by Rebecca Sugar that got released a few years ago, but because that full version isn't included in the show and ergo isn't, technically a Steven Universe original, I can only rank the much shorter version we actually got in the series, which does suck because the full version is pretty nice.
52.
Tidying Song, Rainbow 2.0's first and only only song in the series, and besides the intro, the first song featured in the Steven Universe Future TV series. Not super long or super complicated, but I just really love Alistar James' vocals, such a sweet, catchy little song. I wish it was like a minute longer or it didn't end so suddenly, still nice though.
51.
Let me drive my van into your heart. It's fun, but like some of the other beginning Steven Universe songs, it doesn't really hit me. There's not a real problem with it, it's just a little basic, although it's sweet knowing that it was probably something Greg wrote about or for Rose Quartz. And it's a Greg Universe original, which we have to appreciate. It gets some points for nostalgia, but Greg definitely has some better songs later.
50.
Sadie Killer and the Suspects. Sadie Killer and the Suspects. Sadie Killer and the Suspects. A fun little Scooby-Doo sounding theme song for Sadie's band. The endearing bedroom pop rock sound with the spooky flavor is very sweet on the ears. Wish it was a little bit longer, would have loved to hear a full version on the official Steven Universe soundtrack albums, but as it stands, not bad.
49.
Mr. Greg, a great little show tune preceding one of the most emotionally charged songs in the series, as I just said. Pearl looks great in a tuxedo. I love seeing Greg and Steven have fun, and then we get an interesting moment where Pearl refuses to dance with Greg. Why does she do that? Does it make her think of Rose? Maybe, but it shows they've still got a long way to go together.
48.
Giant Woman. Super fun to sing. Zero emotions, since it's literally just Steven wanting to see, well, a large lady, which I can't blame him for. I'm also known to appreciate large ladies myself. It also got some plot relevance as it introduces the idea of fusions and leads to the first fusion we see on screen. Not counting Garnet, obviously, the first actual transformation sequence. It's a pretty neat thing to experience as a first-time watcher.
47.
Tower of Mistakes. This song is a little sad. The actual song itself is emotional, yes, but it's also the only solo from Amethyst across the entire Steven Universe soundtrack. Amethyst details both her sadness over Sugalite's unstable fusion and her resentment towards Pearl and Garnet's much more stable ability to fusion as Sardonyx. Their instrumental is really cool. I really like the high-pitched reverse-sounding guitar whammies in the background. Would have definitely been higher in the list if the song was longer and more expensive.
46.
Don't Cost Nothing. It's just a fun song. It sets up one of the most emotional songs in the entire series later, which you'll see later down the list, but Don't Cost Nothing alone is just another cool Greg rock track with some Steven thrown on top of it. It's a good, fun, cool switch up a little after halfway through where Greg and Steven do a little rounds, and then it abruptly closes.
45.
Let Us Adore You. I don't know what it is about these amazing harmonies that makes me love Let Us Adore You so much, but I am a big fan of it.
44.
Ghost. I always appreciated that the Sadie Killer songs had their own sound, a completely different production and song style than the rest of anything else in the series, because this is Sadie's music. Well, Sadie and the Killer's music, not related to Jim stuff in any way, just good human rocky pop.
43.
True Kind of Love. I'm like 90% sure this is the longest single song with a concurrent runtime in the entire Steven Universe series, which is awesome because it's mostly led by Garnet and sounds like a Steven Universe flavored and produced Estelle track. I mean, it really could have been an Estelle song, aside from Steven's brief vocals later in the track, which, as a note, are really incredible. And I wish he and Garnet had more of a dual vocal presence on the track. I know they did it for the movie, but the very, very long instrumental sections does make True Kind of Love a little bit hard to listen to as a whole, or even put on repeat, unfortunately, which is why it's probably not as high in the list as some viewers may have expected. I still love the song. Chance the Rapper actually has a composer credit on this track, according to the wiki, which I had no idea about, but listening back to the song, I can kind of hear it. I love the vocals, even with the long, extended instrumental sections. Those are still very pretty on their own.
42.
Found. Steven convinces Spinel to come back to Earth, notably near the end, including the same scratchy synths we heard earlier in the movie in the other songs, Other Friends and Drift Away. I really like Steven and Spinell's voices together here.
41.
Change, a very cool song where Steven reasserts himself as capable of both changing himself and the world around him. It's a little action-flavored since it played during Steven's final confrontation and battle with Spinell, and the way it breaks down into a cool, challenging horn section before popping back up, where Steven takes back control both of the fight and the song, is really cool and really well done.
40.
Why So Blue? Seems like the other side of Distant Shore. Lapis sings about her newfound happiness and acceptance of her reality as she recounts her experiences coming around to other Lapis Lazuli gems, accompanied by a nice bossa nova sounding instrumentation and rhythm in the back. Even if it didn't work to convince the other Lapis gems, it's still a great song and acts as a closer of sorts for Lapis's entire character arc through the series.
39.
Like a Comet, a Greg universe ballad that sounds just like a dad rock classic, a great peek into Greg's views of himself as an artist, performed just for Rose and later Steven.
38.
Both of you. Zach Callison's high notes on this track are amazing, and it serves as a nice little closer to the big city drama. Greg and Pearl are here too, but only to share a moment where they reminisce about Rose, and plot-wise, it is a song that seems like they're finally on the first step of healing or conforming their own relationship as friends, despite their respective pasts. Very nice.
37.
The reprise version of We Are the Crystal Gems. It does not nostalgia blast me as much as the actual intro, but the Change Your Mind version of We Are the Crystal Gems is still really fun. I love the instrumental ending playing us out, and it's a great setup for the finale.
36.
I Think I Need a Little Change, a double entendre song by Greg where Tom Sharpling lays down a very catchy, very fun song that's both about his struggle of being the partner of an alien and his struggle in just living in the real world. He needs change. He may need time away from Rose and all the gem stuff, as he needs to find his place in the world and do something other than just waiting around for her to get back while she's on some kind of crazy alien mission. But also, as shown in the end of the song's visuals, he literally needs change. He's still a human. He needs to eat. And it's fun to see Greg's perspective of how he's maneuvering an alien-human relationship.
35.
Escapism. Our second Townie song in the original series that starts with some very impressive and cool guitar playing before the vocals from Townie kick in, with backing vocals both by Steven and Connie's voice actors. It's pretty unique for a Steven Universe song. The first half is entirely instrumental, and there's only 2 verses before the ending chorus, but that doesn't detract from the song at all. Very beautiful piece with some very tasty harmony.
34.
Independent Together. I remember this blowing my fucking mind the first time I saw it in the movie. Steg sounds great, and it's his first and only appearance, and I think the only time we've ever seen an only male fusion. We also get another visit from Opal, which is cool. One of the few times we get to hear Opal talk, and the only time singing a full song. And one more fun fact, the voice actors for Steg and Opal are actually in a musical duo called The Both. So if you like Independent Together, you've got some more music to check out. As for the song itself, it's a little rockabilly, an uplifting piece about personal power and the acceptance of self, which is exactly what Pearl needed to come back to reality.
33.
I'd Rather Be Me with You. In a vacuum, it's a very sweet song as Steven affirms his love for Connie. Within the context of the show, as far as I can tell, it's pseudo-implied that he's asking Connie to be Townie 24/7, taking inspiration both from how he knows and understands Garnet and how Steven feels when they fuse as Townie. The idea that he'd rather be tall with Connie, or that the title of the song references Ruby's wedding vows from her and Sapphire's wedding. It's an interesting way to look at it. Obviously, Connie rejects the proposal, and it's a very cringe-inducing and like a well-written way sequence that's hard to watch every time I feel like flipping back through some old episodes. But it definitely serves its purpose narratively, and it's still a nice song to listen to in a vacuum. If you just don't think about the scene it plays after, it's fine.
32.
No matter what. Amethyst's original memory regain song for the movie, of which Dee Dee called one of her favorites from the film, and I can understand why. The instrumental is great for Amethyst, an upbeat swing and rhythm follows as we hear Amethyst coming back to herself, going from just repeating Steven's vocals to having her own entire verse and then making her own lyrics, and then boom, she's back, learning how to be her own person instead of copying everything around her.
31.
And strong in the real way. Yay! The first Pearl song in the series, minus her singing in the intro song. And the first song in the series that makes me go, oh wow, that's a real piece right there. It's a super awesome pumping up ballad, makes me a little emotional, as it, in my opinion, has maybe the first real Rebecca Sugar flavor in the series. Even if we're not like all the way ironed out, it's still pretty good. It's fun how it tries to display Steven and Pearl's definitions of strength, and of course its ties to Sugalite.
If you made it this far, subscribe. Because if you don't, a feral hog will come and get you. Just...
Fuck, I ain't taking no chance, then. Go ahead and subscribe, y'all.
30.
system-boot.pearl_final parenthesis 3.info. I had no idea what the song was actually called for the longest time, and seeing it formatted like an entry instruction command for a program is pretty funny. Anyways, Memory Erased Pearl reintroduces the Memory Erased Crystal Gems. It's obviously got a terrifyingly sad edge. These beloved characters we've gotten to know for 5 straight seasons have been completely reset to their base forms. Oh god. but on a rewatch or re-listen, you can just kind of enjoy the comedy present in the lyrics. Amethyst being a little baby copying everything she sees, Ruby and Sapphire immediately going into the military formation, and of course it introduces our memory erased Spinel. Very fun song.
29,
Happily Ever After, the real introduction to Steven Universe Future, which such are setting up, introducing us to grown-up Steven with his grown-up Steven look and grown-up Steven voice, and we get to see where the gems are now, with each member of the original Crystal Gems having started the show, essentially recounting their character arcs we saw unfold over the past 5 seasons of the original Steven Universe. It's also pretty cool how every section has their own sort of changes to the instrumental. Pearl gets piano, which was already associated with her past Pearl-focused songs, but also gets some soft bass as she's learning how to play it in the future. Garnet gets a cool syndicated 2-time drum pattern. Amethyst percussion is really far back in the mix, and we get some deep wubby synths at the forefront, and each section wraps back up into the main instrumental, which we may in a way be able to assume is Steven's, with the show's characteristic bright high synths. Super cool song, super good introduction for the movie and Steven Universe Future as a whole. Also, for the record, this can take the slot of Steven Universe Future's actual opening, since the opening is just a shorter version of Happily Ever After, much in the same way I ranked the full version of We Are the Crystal Gems later instead of individually ranking the short and longer sides, minus the reprise.
28,
Ruby Rider. I'm a sucker for westerns. I love cowboys, I love cowboy characters, I love western themes, I love western elements, I love this positively lazy-sounding, old-style country drawl of a song. Great job, Ruby.
27,
I Could Never Be Ready. A sweet little song about Greg coping both with the loss of Rose and the fact that he has to raise Steven alone. The song does have an interesting history. Rebecca Sugar had a conversation with her friend who had a baby. Sugar asked the friend if they were ready to be a parent. The friend said you couldn't know and you could never be ready for it. Then, Rebecca Sugar later had a meeting where she was informed that Steven Universe would be cancelled after Season 5, so she immediately went and wrote this song, both inspired by the words of her friends and her feelings regarding the show's cancellation, used in show as Greg coping with loss. Very cool.
26,
Wailing Stone. Steven's odd parental upbringing, constantly strewn between his human father and gym caretakers, was always a super interesting facet of his character, but so was true from Greg's perspective, as his insecurities of being just a human and his place in Steven's life as a growing boy. Wailing Stone is pretty much all about that, and is pretty good, even if it's a little short.
25,
Let Us Adore You reprise. I already love this song. The addition of both Spinell's vocals bringing in the lyrics from Found and her signature scratchy synth makes the reprise even better.
24,
The Love Like You reprise. The final reprise version of the main series ending, capstoning the original series with a full reprise reveal, is a beautiful piece. Unlike the original version, the reprise contains a lot of instrumentation at the start before revealing that it's a Love Like You reprise about halfway through. This version of the song also contains some really interesting and different harmonies in certain places not present in the original song. I like the regular version of Love Like You more, which you'll see later, but the reprise is still an incredible piece with an absolutely chilling vocal harmony on the last U.
23,
Full disclosure, first we have a nice instrumental and vocal performance which is carried by the in-universe ringtone of Steven's phone. Do, 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 which is cool. Secondly, we have a greater plot point about what might be Steven's first real struggle between his gym and human identity, which is a huge moment for him, not just for his relationship with Connie, but relationship with himself. Full disclosure means to be completely honest and transparent, so in the bottom of his heart, in his heart of hearts, Steven likes Connie, but can't bring himself to wrap her up in all the dangerous gym stuff. Him trying to ignore Connie so she isn't put in danger is one of the many sacrifices Steven decided to take upon even as a child, so it's getting points for plot relevance on top of already just being a good song.
22,
Just for One Day, Let's Only Think About Love, the longest runtime of a single song in the original series, not counting the movie. Bismuth's first singing role and the hallmark of the most direct actual gay wedding Cartoon Network ever aired that Rebecca had to fight for like nothing else. It is an obtusely positive song. It starts by recapping some plot stuff, but goes into a very lighthearted instrumental that repeatedly tells us just to think about love. But the song does have an underlying dismay. Steven can't help but repeat the worst things that happened recently, the biggest problems on the horizon, and it keeps repeating, well, there's all that awful shit, or we could just shut up and think about the wedding, yay! Even if it's just for one day, try to ignore all the bad shit out there and have yourself just a day to be happy. Ignorance is bliss, even if it must be self-induced to keep our own respective sanity intact. Beautiful song.
21.
Who We Are. I like this because Bismuth gets a big part in it, and she doesn't have nearly enough vocal performances in the series, only 4 total, so it's always nice to hear her singing. I really feel like Steven Universe did not utilize Uzo Abuda's voice enough. It even got some cool melody from Bismuth's Forge, and instrumental song from the original Bismuth episode, so thank you Future for giving a chance to let Bismuth sing. And hearing her sing We Are the Crystal Gems is very awesome.
20.
Peace and love on planet Earth, one of Peridot's first human experiences, first steps to accepting both life on Earth, human culture, and her own ability to engage in what she might have viewed as simple-minded, trivial, almost selfish things like having hobbies or having fun. She literally did not know what singing was until now, and she comes into it with an analytical understanding. She at first sings like it's a challenge, surprised at how easy it is to simply repeat patterns, but opens up when she finally comes around and fills in her own verses, and of course the other crystal gems joining in at the end is wonderful.
19.
Be Wherever You Are, the first song in the series to really have that Rebecca Sugar zing. Steven sounds great, the ukulele backed by what sounds like violin strings makes for an excellent combo, very sweet, very nice, genuinely good message. Be and exist in the space you are, be wherever you are, be present in your own presence in the present time. It's good.
18.
Looking forward. Sadie and Chip perform at Little Homestead's graduation ceremony, the last Sadie song in the series, and a sweet finale sounding send-off to both Sadie and Lars' relationship that never really was, and just a nice song to help close out the near end of the series and the final actual season of Steven Universe Future. It brings us closure both to the Sadie and Lars ship, but also to Sadie and Lars' respective characters. They're both going their own way in a way that's positive, and they're both looking forward to the future. Very heartfelt.
17.
Was something entirely new, the first song with Ruby and the first duet between Ruby and Sapphire, featuring some vocal melody we'd hear over 5,000 years later in the timeline, and songs like Giant Woman, Stronger With You, Strong the Real Way, so on. Hearing Garnet recount her experience coming together for the first time, metaphorically and literally, was a beautiful experience. Love blossoming, what the fuck? Hearing Garnet recount her experience coming together for the first time, metaphorically and literally, was a beautiful experience. Love blossoming in what is next to the bottom dregs of the Gem Empire's soldiers, with the lowly Ruby bodyguard accidentally fusing with their ward, their Sapphire. The recounted melody is most obvious with Sapphire's song / Stronger Than You harmonies hit my heart, and it's a wonderful rendition of what it feels like to stumble into love, something entirely new, a fusion born of love that wasn't quite either individual. Of course, they'd come to realize what Garnet actually means, as both of them in an individual fusion, but seeing them stumble through their first steps is wonderful.
16.
Isn't it love? Beautiful Estelle vocals. Hello. It's a little short, but we got what we needed, and seeing Garnet experience fusion for the first time again is really great. Man, I just love Garnet.
15.
Familiar. Steven copes with his relationship to his mother, who he isn't, but who he in some ways still embodies. He has a great back and forth, contrasting with his own semi-troubled upbringing to the crystal gems, to the new relationships he's trying to figure out with the diamonds. You think it's familiar because he's Rose, but he's not Rose. He's Steven. It's familiar because he's already had a lifetime of trying to understand the dichotomy between his human self, his gem self, and the expectations that people have of him as Pink Diamond.
14.
Disobedient. Sadie Killer and the Suspects duet with Amethyst to bring a super grungy, dirty, punky song full of the spirit of teenage rebellion. I'm a sucker for music like this. It's probably my favorite Sadie song out of everything she sang in the series, and I always appreciate getting to hear more Amethyst vocals.
13.
Here's the first appearance of Rainbow Quartz and a great character introspection to Rose and Greg trying to understand each other in the midst of Pearl's presence. The song's chorus is a very literal question: can a human and gem even be together? What can they do for each other? What can Greg bring to the table that Pearl can't? Can Rose even tolerate this weird little human rock star? It's an uncharacteristically sultry sounding piece, at least compared to the rest of Steven Universe's discography, but it really works here, and there's an ulterior level and undeniable mix of both yearning and angst that acts as the very spine of the track.
12.
We are the Crystal Gems, the intro song. Of course it gets catchiness points because it's so easily singable after how many times you hear it watching through the show, but it's also just genuinely fun and has a few cool instrumental breakdowns as I'm ranking this as the full version. You will in fact catch me singing the end portion used to the show's actual intro every single time I hear it. It is emotional enough because it's one of the more nostalgia-baiting songs than anything, but also it doesn't drive me to tears, so I'm good giving it a solid 3. But in terms of plot, the scene in the song is actually introduced in as a reference to the San Diego 2015 Comic-Con panel. The song is the first one Steven wrote on the ukulele and marked his move out from his dad's van to actually living with the gems. It also gives a cool insight as to why each gem finds a value on Earth. Garnet wants the freedom to stay fused, Pearl stayed to keep Rose Quartz's beliefs alive, and by extension the rebellion, and Amethyst considers it her true home because it's literally where she was made. 334 makes 10 for the intro song, and probably the first Steven Universe songs that most fans in the community ever heard from the show.
11.
What's the Use of Feeling Blue? The first song sung entirely by Homeworld Gems, and I'm pretty sure the first song that features Yellow Diamond in the series, or her singing voice in the series, rather. Super catchy, very cool, overbearing production, big rises, claps, bells. It makes you feel how big these individuals are compared to Steven and Greg, as Patti LuPone absolutely slays the track with some glorious, extensive, long and emotional lyrics, backed by a chorus of their respective pearls, where the melody always runs back to. It is a fantastic song, both in terms of its production, and it's the first time we're really meeting these gems and seeing any kind of insight into their thoughts and feelings. Even the percussion can sound militaristic at times, as Yellow sings about the gems' role in their warfaring society. And it gives us Yellow's coping mechanism. Of course she misses Pink, everyone misses Pink, but she shoves it all down. What's the use in feeling blue? Why mope around all the time like Blue Diamond does? So Yellow channels it into her work. It's also fun to think she's not just asking what's the use in feeling depressed, but the chorus repeats, what's the use in feeling, what's the use in feeling, what's the use in feeling blue? Yellow Diamond doesn't want to feel anything. She doesn't even want to acknowledge her emotions or that they exist. It's a fantastic introduction to Yellow's actual personality as a character, instead of just being a looming threat in the background of the show's plot. What do the great and powerful diamonds talk about and sound like when nobody else is watching? This song is our first answer.
10.
My little reason why. I would do anything for this song to be longer. It's so wonderful. Blue's voice is perfect here. The lyrics are beautiful. This is just one of those songs from Steven Universe that really stuck in my brain, even if I can't conceptualize why just beyond saying, well, it's a good song. My little reason why I'll never make you cry. Oh man. It's also just a perfect representation of Blue's new psyche, power, and character after the events of the original series and movie. God, I wish this song was longer.
9.
Love Like You. Love Like You is just a beautiful serenade with some absolutely excellent jazz-inspired instrumentation, with beautiful lyrics written for no character in particular, some cool vocal effects in the background. It's an incredibly solid ending piece, even more nostalgia-baiting to me than the show's actual intro. We're maxing out catchiness here because I absolutely love singing this song, and it's lovely to sing along with a 4 in emotions but a 1 in plot, since beyond being the show's closure, Rebecca Sugar herself stated that the lyrics weren't meant to represent any specific character and were able to be freely interpreted. You could apply a number of things: Pearl trying to understand Pink's love for Greg, Pink's actual love for Greg as a human being, Greg trying to navigate Pink's love for him, so on and so forth. But because it isn't explicitly attached to any specific idea, despite the many ways to interpret it, we are going for 2 plot points. Beautiful song.
8.
It's That Distant Shore, Lapis Lazulai's first song in the entire series, and it's a great, absolutely lovely, dovely, beachy song that still gives me goosebumps. Jennifer Paz absolutely floats on this beautiful guitar and string-backed instrumental. Also love when the song characterizes the person singing it. It starts out so soft and sweet. There's a hint of growing tension as Lapis sings about her fears. It's not that she's on that distant shore yet. She's not recovered. She is far from healed. But she's beginning to believe that there could be more. She's beginning to believe that she could be there one day. and this song is the first step of that healing process.
7,
Other Friends. One of the last things I expected Steven Universe to drop on a soundtrack is an absolutely banging electro swing track. The song is permeated by the dark reversey sense that we hear in other Spinell songs, mainly playing in the intro of Other Friends before it kicks into overdrive where those synths get faster, a little scratchier, and play on top of the instrumental, which is chock full of funny old-timey swing, sway, and rhythm. It's really just fantastically put together piece. Spinell's angry growling voice and those scratched record sounding synths giving the whole song both a playful and intimidating edge as Spinell kicks herself into the movie and establishes herself as our main antagonist. Super fun, super cool, super bubbly, super energetic, super.
6,
Just the thought, it is such a shame that AJ Michalka as Townie only gets 2 songs across the whole series because I love this singing voice. Also, a Garnet focused song, which is always great because that's Estelle. The first duet song featuring Garnet and Townie, and also the first duet performed by 2 fusions, which is fun. It's one of the longer songs compared to the rest of the Steven Universe discography, but that is absolutely, totally, perfectly fine with me. It's one of the first songs while I was watching the show originally that really just stood out to me in terms of its music production. It's super clean sounding, a little poppy, upbeat tune, with some nice percussion and absolutely lovely synths that permeate the track like a beautiful rainbow melange. It easily earns its spot high in the list. There isn't a single thing I dislike about the song. A longer song, which is nice. Garnet and Townie vocals, nice. Super cool production, nice. On the top of all that, it is a genuinely emotional song that teaches the listener a lesson about grounding. It's about confronting yourself. Your worst thoughts are just thoughts, intrusive or otherwise. Confide in a friend and or trust yourself. Recognize a thought for what it is and move on. It's a thought process that genuinely carried me throughout a lot of low points in my life, so we're scoring high in every category, including emotional.
5,
Do it for her. Jesus Christ. Dee Dee Magnohall is just an incredible vocalist. While I'm sitting here listening to this song on repeat before I try to score it, I just can't stop thinking about how well Dee Dee both embodies this character and just her huge range and vocal skills, which is put on an absolutely lovely display here. And the song itself is incredibly important for both Pearl and Connie's character. Connie getting wrapped up in the dangerous gym stuff Steven was worried about, and Pearl imparting her own ways of being a knight, vaguely superimposing her and Pink's relationship onto Connie acting as Steven's knight. And while I was gushing about Dee Dee's performance here, it's also very worth noting Grace Rolick sounds great here as well. The way the song grows in intensity as Pearl gets more serious, trying her hardest to make Connie understand what a life and death situation is, how to cope with it. And keep in mind, Connie in the show is like fucking 12 here. She's 12, not even a teenager yet, and Pearl is out here like, hey, you could really fucking die. Like, are you prepared to die? Are you really about this life? The way Steven Universe uses its important songs to upsell character development is incredible, and Do It For Her is a great piece. Fantastic all around.
4,
Drift Away. Here it is. The other side of Everything Stays from Adventure Time. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've heard the story, but very quickly, it's based on the perspective of a toy left on the ground for months outside. The side facing the sun had been weathered, and the side facing the dirt was mostly unaffected by the march of time. Everything Stays is written by the perspective of Rebecca finding the toy and seeing it's mostly unchanged after so much time apart. On the other side, in Steven Universe, Drift Away is written from the toy's perspective, something abandoned, which is apt as Spinell was created and is somewhat seen as a toy for Pink and then was, abandoned. The song is obviously sad. We get the same jury warped record synths that play over the top of Other Friends, but they're given much more prominence as they make up the main core of Drift Away's instrumental. I absolutely love the swelling strings and deep kick with the shakers providing a little rhythm. It encapsulates the betrayal of a toy left behind. Incredible piece.
3,
Stronger Than You. Come on, man. It's Stronger Than You. If this was going to be absolutely fucking anywhere on this big-ass list, it's going near the top. It's Stronger Than You, man. Super catchy, super good, nostalgia. The first time the show really got me hyped about something, and in my opinion marks the very moment that the show really started opening up, and what really made me attached to it. There's obviously the Garnet Fusion reveal as well, which I absolutely love. But even more than that, I love how literal the lyrics are. Garnet is a fusion between two gems that love each other. They are literally made of love. Garnet herself as a living being is literally a conversation between two people who love each other. It's really incredible. It's both a hype moment where Garnet gets to show her badassery, good fight scene, but also just re-justifying and validating her own experience to the disbeliever Jasper. Can't you see my relationship is stable? As in, look at how stable she is in this very fight where she's kicking Jasper's ass, because Garnet is a relationship and a living being all at once, and she is made of love. She is love. And it's stronger than Jasper, who is like the antithesis. Love beats cruelty, Garnet beats Jasper. Amazing song.
2,
Being human, I'm just gonna get it out of the way. This song absolutely has the potential to make me cry for a number of reasons. First, the obvious relevance to the show, the way the final shot expands, and we realize, oh, that's Steven Universe driving away from Beach City the whole time as the longer version of the outro plays. So good. And then there's the lyrics. First, it's perfectly written for Steven's character and his entire arc through the future TV series. He figured out how to be a gem, how to be a hero, how to do so many things, but never recognized or fully got in touch with his humanity. His two sides conflicted, made him spiral, but by the end of the series, he's learned to realize it's not his gem side or his human side. It's just him. He is both. He's just Steven, and seeing him finally take some self-initiative for his own mental health with the support of his loved one and his friends after the entire insanely stressful series that was the rest of Future is so cathartic. So to me, this song means so much for Steven's character, but also the lyrics have a big personal resonance with me. I feel like I've had to learn how to be human my entire life, both because of my various mental afflictions, making me feel completely alienated to most of my peers coming up in the world. I had to learn how to mask. I had to study basic human behavior and interaction that seemed to be perfectly natural to everyone else. It's a very, very different experience living like that, and while I don't want to spend too much time talking about myself, I wanted to demonstrate how much this song means to me. Finally, in terms of its actual audio quality, I'm such a huge fan of how the song is put together. Absolutely lovely guitar, lovely vocals from Emily King, the very same artist that made the You Can't Hold Me Now song featured in this Townie roller skating episode. It's got this super comfy, bedroomy feel. The piano and guitar complement each other wonderfully throughout the song. Background harmonies, the way the song lets up space for going back into the chorus. Being Human sounds deceptively simple, but is to me a perfect song. And then finally, the top spot, all the way at the top of the list.
1,
It's Over, isn't it? Get the fuck out of here, you know where we are. It's over, isn't it? An absolutely fucking stunning performance from beginning to end. A beautiful piano and strings arrangement carries the greatest introspective look at Pearl's psyche we've seen in the series thus far as she grapples with her feelings for Rose and her absence. The song is dreadfully sad. It's Pearl accepting that she lost Rose, both because she lost Rose to Greg in their relationship, but also because Rose is fucking dead. This song is mourning the death of a love interest, a compatriot, a fellow soldier on the battlefield, a leader. Rose was basically everything to Pearl. Rose was Pearl's totality, and this is incredibly Pearl's first solo performance in Steven Universe. Way to fucking knock it out of the park, Dee Dee. We can't forget to mention Dee Dee sang so hard with so much emotion they literally had to change the animation to match. This is just on every level such an incredible piece. Alright, this is the end. Did you agree? Did you not agree? Do you want to see more videos like this? I'm probably going to do Adventure Time next. It's going to be shorter than this one, but I'm going to do it. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think. I love this show. Thank you for watching. Love blossoming, blossoming? What the fuck?